This is the anthem. Here's what you came for.
Welcome to the Disney Beat, a podcast brought to you by thedisinsider.com. My name is Sean Nyberg, and I will be covering all of the Disney headlines to keep you informed as you start your week.
Happening right now.
Hello there, this is Sean Nyberg, and this podcast is being recorded on the evening of Sunday, January 24th, 2021. All right, let's dive into the news. We learned that Disneyland last week would be letting the sun set on their annual pass program. Their words, not mine. And then because of that, the story that Walt Disney World has not been issuing new annual passes kind of started popping up on people's news feeds. They have, however, continued to renew people who had previously had annual passes and wanted to continue to have them, but they are not issuing new passes. Now, this isn't news. They've been doing this since they reopened last summer. So, but it's just worth noting that that A, it's not news, and B, that's just kind of their plan, is they're not going to be issuing anything new and just continuing to renew those who already had them. Where Disneyland, we talked about last week that they're going to let the sun set and just basically are canceling their current annual pass program, and they're going to come up with something new eventually. And I just think right now it just makes sense with the parks that they are going to... I think both parks are going to be redoing their annual pass program. They've been going on for a long time. They've been making little adjustments here and there, but I think Disney's just going to take this opportunity during the pandemic to look at all of their annual pass programs and all their options and really kind of adjust to the needs of the company moving forward. So I do think that there's no doubt that these theme parks are going to recover along with the COVID-19 pandemic, and the future capacity of the parks will be limited, and there will be added safety requirements that we still do not know exactly what they're going to be at this time. So because of this, the Disney parks are avoiding entering into any long-term contract with guests, which is what an annual pass is. It's a long-term contract. It's an agreement between two parties. Party number one is the guest, who promised to pay a certain dollar amount and, follow the safety guidelines and all the other, requirements within the pass. Disney promises to have the parks available and to the guests on certain days, and that obviously that the parks are going to be safe, and et cetera, et cetera. So this is an agreement. It's a long-term contract, and until Disney can know what their future availability is going to look like, they can't in good faith enter into new long-term contract agreements, because they don't know what their long-term ability to offer their services will be. So this entire situation is going to give Disney, like I said, the opportunity to review their annual pass program for both parks. And once we get some new information, we'll pass it on. I think it's going to take a while. I think, neither one of them, neither parks, Disney World or Disneyland, they are run by the same company. And I don't think they're going to be looking to announce any new program anytime soon, nor do they think that. I think they have to, because, there are capacity limits, and they're meeting those, and they're not needing to start any new kind of long-term programs right now. So, but speaking of Walt Disney World, we did get some word on two attractions, or two shows really, within the Walt Disney World Resort. The first one is the Magic Kingdom's Hall of Presidents. It was closed for refurbishment on Tuesday, January 19th, that evening, the night before the U.S. presidential inauguration. Disney will be adjusting their Hall of Presidents show and adding an audio animatronic for current President Joseph R. Biden. This is a routine move for the attraction each time a new president is sworn in. The former president will remain in the attraction, but the primary speaking role will move to the current president. There is no reopening date announced, and many fans and park watchers are curious to see if Disney will take this opportunity to overhaul other portions of the show, as a revamp has been rumored for a while now, and that revamp includes large changes and just a whole different show, really, that is being led by songwriter Lin-Manuel Miranda, who's known for Into the Heights and Hamilton and the music for Moana, and pop star, Weird Al Yankovic. The duo has been long rumored to be working on just some new big changes. So the question is Disney going to do or implement or make any of these changes while they add the new president? We don't know yet. And there's no opening date announced yet with the new Biden and audio animatronic. So we'll keep an eye on this. The Hall of Presidents is a it's an interesting attraction in that there's a lot of people who love it, especially when the president is someone that they do admire, there's someone that they support. People obviously don't like it when there's a president that they don't support is being featured. And then there's everyone else who like just thinks it's fine and have no political opinions and just think it's fine. And there's people who just don't like it regardless of who's president. And then there's people who just don't ever go to it and don't care. So I think I covered everyone. But, we'll be keeping an eye on that and seeing what they're going to do. Obviously, by them announcing they're going to be adding an audio animatronic for Biden, obviously they're going to continue having the attraction because they are adding to it. So just will it be the same just with a new audio animatronic, or will they be revamping the show? We also got word this week that the Walt Disney World Resort's Animal Kingdom will be bringing back its extremely popular stage show, the Festival of the Lion King. Earlier last year, in 2020, in the midst of the COVID-19 related closings, the Walt Disney World Resort shut down practically all of their live shows from the parks. This included the Festival of the Lion King. I remember when that happened, I'm recording this on the West Coast, so it was kind of happening around 6 o'clock, 6, 7-ish my time. So, right when the parks were kind of closing on the East Coast, we're getting all this word out of Florida that, the Festival of the Lion King was closing, and then the Finding Nemo show was closing, and that Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor was closing, and then all the other live shows, from some of the resorts, like the hotel resorts, and some of them from the other theme parks, and they were just all happening within like an hour or two. It was like a massacre. It was pretty crazy. And the news just kept coming and coming and coming from people, from cast members who were getting notices. And it was such an interesting and sad night. And we talked about it here on the podcast. So finally, we're starting to get some word that some of these things are starting to come back. So that's very good. Again, the primary reason that the show was closed and that the cast members and crew were laid off was the COVID-19 precautions were not realistic. With these large stage shows, performers and crew members could not reasonably maintain safe distances with one another, and the setup of the audience was too close for safety. Anticipating a major improvement in the pandemic by midsummer, Disney announced that they will slowly be reintroducing a modified version of the show. This is great news for fans who love the show, but it really is exciting news for the previously laid off cast members. While there is still a long way to go with vaccine distribution, continued mask wearing, and social distancing before we see numbers improve enough to see mass rehirings in the parks, this is a positive sign and brights the dim light at the end of the tunnel just a little bit. So this is very exciting news. It's not happening now. I know they talked about having the modified version up and running by this summer, so it's going to take a while, and even after a while, it's still going to be a modified version, but it's still progress. Now we're starting to get rumors of shows being reopened as opposed to having to hear these shows getting closed and closed and closed. So good news for fans, good news for cast members and crew members, and good news for just everyone in the parks. Good news for Disney too. It just is going to enhance people's experience and just make for a better time for everyone. So this is very, very good. I just know it's going to be a long process, and we just need to be patient and be smart about, to make sure that we're following guidelines so that we can get back to the parks that we love. While the Disneyland Resort in Anaheim is still closed, we did get a teaser about the upcoming Marvel-themed land Avengers Campus over in Disney California Adventure. Spider-Man actor Tom Holland unveiled new footage of him recording video for the upcoming Spider-Man Web Slinger attraction. The video is available over at thedisinsider.com, so go check it out. It also shows footage of Tom Holland riding the new ride, an interactive shooter-style ride that was completed during the pandemic shutdown. The new ride will open with the new land, and the new land will have to wait for the Disneyland Resort to open. There is no word yet if the Avengers Campus will open immediately when the entire resort opens, or if there will be a buffer period to get the park running with the new restrictions and then opening the new land as an event at a later date. So again, this is a shooter style ride that kind of brings to mind Toy Story Midway Mania-ish, but instead of a gun and stuff, it uses motion capture technology. So when you fling your wrists a certain way or you move your arms a certain way, that you see a web coming out, and you are to collect these spider bots throughout Disney California Adventure. And that last thing I talked about when Avengers Campus is going to open. So we know the ride will open with the land. The question is, when will the land open? Now, the real question is when is Disneyland going to open? And nobody knows that answer. So if we don't know that answer, we definitely don't know when Avengers Campus is going to open. But there's that whole question of, do we think it's going to open, Avengers Campus will open when the Disneyland Resort can open, or if they're going to hold off a little bit? My gut instinct says that they're probably going to wait on Avengers Campus at least a little bit, because the initial capacity levels for the Disneyland Resort are going to be low. We know that because, I mean, even in Florida, which has got a lot looser guidelines in terms of their COVID-19, they still initially opened up with mandatory capacity limits from the state, and then initially Disney just imposed their own capacity limitations. So you know that the state of California is going to have strict capacity caps. So it's going to be such a small amount of people there. I don't know why they would open Avengers Campus, because A, it's not going to look great with just a few people walking around. Also, you know, why do you open lands and open rides and open new restaurants is to attract people. But for a while, Disneyland's not going to be wanting to attract people. They're just going to be like, hey, all we can do is bring in like a handful of people. We just need to get our cast members and these rides and you know, just the whole operations used to this limited capacity. So I don't understand what the benefit would be to open up this land. It would miss any of the fanfare that a new land would bring, because a lot of people aren't going to be able to go to it for a while. And it just wouldn't look very like fun, because it's going to be pretty empty, just because the parks are going to be forced to be empty for a while. So that's just my own thought. You know, everyone can have their own opinion, but my feeling is they're going to open the Disneyland Resort as it was when they right before they closed it, for a while. And then once they can kind of increase capacity a little bit more, and there's a little bit better numbers and stuff in terms of allowing larger groups of people in, that they can, then they will open the Avengers Campus, so they can have it more of an event that draws people in, and then kind of helps revive the Disneyland park in Anaheim, California, once you know, the pandemic is starting to go away. So that's my own thoughts. We're going to be following this and keep you guys up to date whenever it happens. So details released for Pixar's next film, Luca, came out this last week, which is set to be released this summer, hitting theaters on June 18th. This week we got some information regarding the plot of the film. It follows two characters, Luca and his best friend Alberto, who are sea creatures that appear human only on dry land. Luca is being described as a little mermaid riff. They get to experience life on land and also befriend a human girl along the way. Ooh. The director of the film, Enrico Casarosa, stated, quote, "My summers were spent on beaches. I met my best friend when I was 11. I was really shy, and I found this troublemaker of a kid who had a completely different life. I wanted to make a movie about those kinds of friendships that help you grow up." End quote. I cannot wait for the movie. Pixar always delivers the goods. I mean, last year we got Onward and Soul, and their track record is just fantastic. You know, the Toy Story franchise, Cars, Incredibles, Inside Out, Up, you know, and Onward and Soul, and gosh, what else? Everything. All some of Disney's best stuff, right, is Pixar. So that is what is. So this is supposed to be coming out this summer. We're going to talk a little bit about the release date a little bit later in the show, so keep an eye on that. But yeah, so that is what Luca is going to be about. It seems really exciting. I'm really, really excited for it, and it sounds kind of fun. Little Mermaid riff, right? Speaking of Pixar, Disney Plus just released 10 mini shorts called Pixar Popcorn. So go check them out. They're over on Disney Plus right now. I find it amazing to see what these artists can do with only 1 or 2 minutes, which I still think 1 or 2 minutes, even with our short attention span, is still considered a short. So in other Pixar news, it was reported that Disney Pixar's Soul topped the streaming charts for the Christmas week starting on December 21st and going through December 27th. Soul was streamed for 1.7 billion minutes during this time period. The film premiered on Disney Plus on Christmas Day, which means the film earned its first place position over a 2-day period compared to the full week the rest of the chart enjoyed. So, you know, this week period covers the 21st through the 27th. Soul was released on the 25th. So it added up 1.7 billion minutes in just 2 days, which is pretty amazing. Again, get used to that billions of minutes marker, because that looks like how Nielsen and some of the rating agencies are going to start tracking streaming, is through the minutes viewed. So that's what we know about the week. It's opening week. Really, it's opening 2 days. We don't know. We don't have the information yet about the following week, when Soul was available for the entire 7 days, what it did then. So, you know, it's kind of funny. It's kind of big news because Soul beat out The Office the TV, the United States version, the TV series The Office, which streams on other streaming services, that is always the number one most streamed show on TV. It's incredible. So people just love it. I think they put it on just while they're laying there. I think they have it on in the background. I think it's just comforting. But yeah, so for the first time in a while, Disney beat them out with Soul. It was announced that Disney Plus will begin streaming every season of the original variety series The Muppet Show, starting February 19th. The series originally premiered in 1976, and not only will Disney be releasing the first 3 seasons, they will also stream seasons 4 and 5, 2 seasons that have never been previously released on home entertainment. This is very exciting news for Muppet fans everywhere. The news has also shown to me, personally, that not only is there a loyal Muppet fan base, there also exists some serious Muppet haters. While every property has its share of detractors, I've been blown away by the level of dislike some have for the Muppets. I want to clarify what I mean by that. I don't mean that the Muppets have more people dislike the Muppets. I'm just saying of those that do dislike it, they actually have a very strong and visceral dislike for the Muppets. It's like I said, every property has its share of detractors. Someone might say, I don't care for Jurassic Park, or I didn't really like it, or I don't like, I don't like Pixar. I just never really worked for me. But I've noticed with these stories recently of the Muppets that there's some people who really, really have strong negative feelings for them. And conversely, people who have very, very strong attachments to it too. So that's pretty cool. Personally, I'm very excited for this. I'm Team Muppets. My fiance Paul is a huge Muppets fan. I've always liked the Muppets, and his love for the Muppets has got me more excited for them. So I'm moving more over to the very category, and I can't wait to catch up on that show, and especially the 2 previously unreleased seasons. So that's coming to Disney Plus on February 19th. As always, we have some casting news for upcoming Disney projects. Actress Ginger Gonzaga will appear as Jennifer Walters' best friend in the forthcoming Marvel Disney Plus series She-Hulk. Gonzaga will join Tatiana Maslany, Mark Ruffalo, and Tim Roth. Gonzaga is best known for her role in the recent Netflix series Space Force. There is no release date for She-Hulk, but it is expected sometime next year. Another upcoming Disney Plus series has added new cast members. The reboot of Turner and Hooch has added Matt Hamilton from The Actress Diaries, Paul Campbell from Battlestar Galactica, and Christina Rosato from Little Italy. The series is based on the 1989 film of the same name. Actor Josh Peck of Drake and Josh will be playing Scott Turner, the role Tom Hanks created in the film. We also learned that comedian and actor Jim Gaffigan will be joining the live-action upcoming Peter Pan film, Peter Pan and Wendy. Gaffigan will be playing the Captain Hook sidekick Smee. Hook will be played by Jude Law, best known for his work in The Talented Mr. Ripley, Sherlock Holmes, Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald, and Captain Marvel. Among hundreds of other projects, Jude Law's been in a ton of stuff, and he's won a ton of awards. He's an amazing actor. Production for the new Peter Pan film begins this March in Vancouver. The film will be released directly to Disney+. After a dizzying year of release dates being pushed back and pushed back again, it was starting to look like Disney was in a position where their upcoming release dates were going to start to solidify. This last week, there were some more changes made, however, this time, and these films that are being changed are under Disney's 20th Century Studios production company. So Disney's 20th Century Studios, it was the production company they got when they purchased 20th Century Fox. And it really, they released they released movies that were already being produced under this production company, but also just some of the more adult films. And I say adult films, I mean, more mature, like PG-13 or R-rated films. Back in the late 80s and 90s, they released a lot of these kind of films under the label Touchstone Films. Touchstone, if you remember that. I just think back and I remember the logo before a film. I think that the light went through the logo and I flashed like a lightning bolt, I think. Is that the right one? But that's how they used to release some of their films that didn't want associated with the Disney Castle, right? And vice versa. The Disney Castle would maybe be a weird way to start a film that was really serious, or maybe even a horror film, right? It also would maybe take the family-friendly castle image too, right? So it kind of worked both ways. So they have these other little production companies that make these films that they get released under. And right now, one of them that Disney owns is Disney 20th Century Studios. So the upcoming films that they've moved or given their first release dates to are The King's Man, which has been moved to August 20th. It originally was scheduled for September 18th of last year. Then it was moved to February 26th. And then March 11th of this year. So then we just learned it got currently bumped to August 20th. The highly anticipated theatrical release of a Bob's Burgers film has been removed from the calendar after its initial April 9th release date. The studio still plans to release the film, but they just have yet to settle on a date. So it got removed, so they're not going to start planning for the April 9th release date, and they still are going to release it. We just don't know exactly when yet. I'm sure we're going to hear that pretty soon, though. The film Ron's Gone Wrong has moved 6 months and will now open October 22nd of this year. The movie The Night House will be released on July 16th. The film The Eyes of Tammy Faye will open on September 24th. The horror film Antlers will be released on October 29th. And director, screenwriter, and producer Guillermo del Toro's film Nightmare Alley will open on December 3rd in limited release. Limited release is what they love to do in December because it gets the film released before the end of the year, so it's available for the that year's Oscars and other award show ceremonies. While we have yet to hear any new dates for Disney's upcoming theatrical releases Black Widow and Disney Pixar's Luca, do not be surprised if those get updated release dates once we have a better idea of the timing for the pandemic recovery. It was recently on the news, a couple weeks ago, that there was this whole idea that the previous administration had like 1 million vials of vaccine that they had in storage that they were holding back for the first round of people to get who got their first shot to use as their second shot. Well, as there was more transparency when the new administration was coming in, it's now been reported that actually those 1 million vials in storage never existed. So that really kind of threw off a lot of the planning that some of these companies, Disney and other film companies, and then just every other company that's trying to plan for the pandemic recovery, it threw them all off roughly about a month. So while we haven't heard any new dates for Black Widow or for that Pixar film Luca I talked about earlier, don't be surprised if we hear something. So just keep an eye on the Disney Insider or listen to the Disney Beat or both, which is the best way to do it. And we'll keep you updated with any changes. Disney's animated film Raya and the Last Dragon will see dual releases in the theaters and on Disney Plus Premier Access at the same time on March 5th. Since the film is already planned to have a streaming release to coincide with the theatrical release, this film is less likely to get rescheduled. However, these films have huge budgets and huge potential audiences, so Disney wants to make sure they release them with the widest possible audience available. So we will monitor any changes for any of the upcoming Disney releases. So the last three I talked about, though, Raya and the Last Dragon, Disney Pixar's Luca, and the Disney Marvel release Black Widow, those are still unchanged as of recording this on Sunday night, the 24th. Speaking of Raya and the Last Dragon, the film directors Don Hall, who did Big Hero 6, and Carlos Lopez Estrada, who did Blindspotting, recently spoke about the upcoming animated film. Apparently, the film's action sequences were partially inspired by the very intense adult action franchise John Wick. The director stated that if they had kept the original cut, the film would have likely received an R rating for violence. He's talking about the animated film Raya and the Last Dragon, not John Wick, which, the trailer of John Wick should be getting an R rated for violence. So the director was saying that if they had not edited down like they did, the film would have received R rating for violence, saying, this is from the director, quote, "Just so you know, there is a cut of the movie with broken bones and stuff," end quote. "For those who avoid violence or worry for your little ones, the film edited out these graphic sections and the film is currently rated PG. We can confirm that the upcoming Enchanted sequel titled Disenchanted will begin filming this spring in Ireland. As we reported a few weeks back, actor Patrick Dempsey will be returning to reprise his role as Robert Phillip. The sequel will again feature Amy Adams as Giselle and will be directed by Adam Shankman, known for his work on Hairspray. Also returning are songwriters Alan Menken and Stephen Schwartz, who will write new songs for the film. Menken has a long history with Disney, which includes writing music for The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and Pocahontas. Schwartz previously teamed with Menken for Pocahontas and is widely known for his solo work on the Broadway shows Godspell and one of the most successful Broadway shows of all times, Wicked. We have received set photos for a number of upcoming projects, and we have posted them over at thedisinsider.com. The posts include photos from the upcoming Spider-Man 3 movie, the upcoming Star Wars project Andor, and the Disney Marvel Studios' upcoming feature film Thor: Love and Thunder. So these are photos that they've all been probably different photographers, but people have taken on the set of these films and leaked. These aren't like official, releases or movie stills released from the studio. So, they're behind the scenes. They kind of give you an idea, and you get to see some of the production stuff. So if you're interested in that, they're over there at thedisinsider.com. You can go check them out. Again, it's for the Spider-Man 3 movie, the upcoming Star Wars project Andor, and the Marvel Studios' upcoming feature film, Thor: Love and Thunder. Also, on thedisinsider.com, you can find the teaser trailer for the upcoming Hulu FX documentary, Framing Britney Spears, streaming on February 5th. It is presented by the New York Times and will cover the controversial conservatorship that the courts implemented that allows Britney Spears' father to control her finances. This is that, if you've seen either you're fully involved or even just seen it tangentially, just the whole Free Britney movement, hashtag Free Britney, this is what it all stems from. It's this conservatorship that the courts imposed that gave control of her finances and other very personal decisions for Britney Spears to her father, even though she's a grown adult. So this FX, it's going to be released on FX and Hulu, and it's the New York Times is creating the documentary, and so it's going to air on FX on February 5th, and it'll also be streaming on Hulu that same day. And you can check out the teaser trailer over at thedisinsider.com. The Disney Company was nominated for a total of 23 Critics' Choice Awards in the television division. The film nominations will come out next month, so we haven't heard about those yet, but the Disney Plus series The Mandalorian received a nomination for Best Drama Series, and the filmed stage production of Hamilton was nominated for Best Movie Made for Television. The rest of the nominations came from the Disney-owned Hulu and FX, which included multiple nominations for the television series Rami, Pen 15, Normal People, Mrs. America, What We Do in the Shadows, and Fargo. Winners will be announced on March 7th on the CW network. To wrap up, I want to remind everyone that we are conducting a months-long bracket-style tournament over at thedisinsider.com. We are calling it the Ultimate Disneyland Resort Tournament of Rides. It is a 6-round bracket-style tournament to decide the best ride at Disneyland, a Disney California Adventure in Anaheim, California. Last week, we recorded over 111,000 votes, and the round 2 winners have been announced on a special The Disney Beat podcast released 2 days ago, so on Friday. So it should be right next to this one on your streaming app. Along with a list of the winners, we've listed the winners and shown all the percentages over at thedisinsider.com. Round 3 of the tournament will take place this week, and matchups and voting will be available at thedisinsider.com. You can vote also on my Twitter handle at Sean Nyberg, SeanNyberg. The website's Twitter handle at thedisinsider.com, at thedisinsider, and you can also vote at the pages on Instagram and on Facebook by searching The Diz Insider. Come let your voices be heard and see the results. It's pretty fun. We're at the Sweet 16 now. So we got the big boys out there, the big girls, Splash Mountain, Space Mountain, Incredicoaster, Guardians of the Galaxy, Mission Breakout, and we've got some dark horses like the Little Mermaid, Ariel's Undersea Adventure, and Monsters Inc., Mike and Sully to the Rescue. So it's really fun. And so come vote. We're going to be, like I said, Sweet 16 this week. There's going to be 4 days with 2 matches each day, Monday through Thursday. So there'll be 8 matches total. And again, this Friday, we'll release the winners of round 3 and do it all again until we get the undisputed fan favorite ride at Disneyland. Also, please visit thedisinsider.com to look at those photos that I talked about from the sets, to look at any of the videos I discussed, like the teaser trailer, which should be called the teaser trailer for Framing Britney Spears. And also there's some specials and stuff that people have written up over at thedisinsider.com that don't really translate well to these kind of podcasts that you should really read. There's some amazing ongoing features that get written, we have one with one of our writers is going back and looking at Disney animation and kind of covering all the the classic and even the more modern Disney animated films like The Emperor's New Groove and Hercules, and you can go read those, and also the breaking news, and then see the videos and the photos, and also some other stories that we didn't have time for. So always check those out at thedisneyinsider.com. We have news stories, multiple times a day, throughout the day, every day. And so you can stay up to date on everything from the parks to streaming to Marvel to Star Wars to Pixar to animation to the company and cruise lines and everything else. So make sure to check that out. On behalf of myself and those of us here at the Disney Beat, along with the Disney Insider, we wish everyone good health and prosperity. With that, I want to say thank you for listening. If you like the show, please rate and review it wherever you listen. These ratings really help the show find new listeners, and we hope we have earned a 5-star review. We also ask that you share this podcast with friends and family who love Disney. As I said, all stories can be found at thedisneyinsider.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram at the handle The Disney Insider, or our Facebook group by searching The Disney Insider. You can follow me, Sean Nyberg, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Sean Nyberg, all one word, Sean, S-E-A-N, Nyberg, N-Y-B-E-R-G. I co-host the Disney podcast, Walt's Apartment, that comes out every Thursday, and the Disney Parks theme podcast, Extra Magic Hour, which is released every other Friday, so check those out. Thank you again for listening. I will see you here again next week for another edition of the Disney Beat podcast. My name is Sean Nyberg. Have a fantastic week.